Okay, this is video number 3 in the beast, the false prophet, the image, and the mark of the beast. In part 1 and 2, we talked about who the beast is, who the false prophet is, who the image of the Antichrist is. That image is living, breathing, and has power. And actually, that living, breathing image of the Antichrist is the one who is executing judgment on people who are not taking the mark of the beast and are not bowing down to it. It's actually not the Antichrist doing it. It's the image of the Antichrist. The Antichrist is the kingdom of counterfeit Christianity. The Antichrist spirit is Satan. Many Antichrists have come. These are his children who do the will of their father. And there is an Antichrist kingdom that's going to rise in the end that began with papal Rome. That is what started counterfeit Christianity. They love to say that they started Christianity. No, Jesus started Christianity. Thank you very much. He has been building his kingdom and his church on the rock of the faith that Peter demonstrated when he declared Jesus for the first time as being the Son of God. Jesus said, and you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. He didn't say, and you are Peter, and I'm going to build my church on you, and you're going to be the first pope. That's not what he said. He said it within the context of Peter declaring Jesus to be the Son of God. Jesus responded to him, blessed are you, Peter, because you did not get that from yourself. The Father revealed that to you, and you are Peter, and on this rock, okay, on this foundation of faith, a fundamental knowing in your being that Jesus is the Son of God. On that rock, he's going to build his church. And Peter was the first to declare it. That's all Jesus was demonstrating. Jesus is the rock. He's not like, hey, oh, you get to be rocks. Hey, rocks for everybody. Everyone's going to be the rock. Jesus is the rock who is building his church on the firm foundation, on the rock of faith, on the rock of belief, and a fundamental knowing that he is the Son of God. Catholicism started counterfeit Christianity, and it continues in the prostitutes that bore out of her. We've talked about it in many videos. They continue in the prostitutions of their harlot mother. They take everything that she has prostituted herself to all sorts of paganism. And in fact, what the Catholic Church would do is they would go and conquer, and then they would just adapt the pagan gods of that particular nation or land or people. Guadalupe is not in the Bible. That's a perfect example of them adapting paganism. Christmas is a perfect example of them adapting pagan gods. Christmas is based on the Roman god Mithras. Easter is based on the god Ishtar, or Ashtoreth in the Bible. And then there are all these customs, these traditions within Christmas, like the Yuletide log. And, you can look these things up on your own. These were pagan practices that got turned into something warm and fuzzy, and prostitute counterfeit Christians ate it up. That is not Christianity. There's no difference between Jews and Christian Gentiles. When you're engrafted in the Commonwealth of Israel, you become a spiritual Jew, as defined by circumcision of the heart, which has always defined a Jew, actually. Not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. Not all who are descended from Abraham are Abraham's children. A Jew is not one who is one outwardly through circumcision, but inwardly through circumcision of the heart. God is not referring to a race. Initially, he established a race in order to demonstrate the separation of a nation to him as being holy and separate from every other nation. So that now you're supposed to understand that wherever you're living in the world, you do not belong to any part of it. You have to live as a Jew. You have to live as a nation set apart to God. Then we talked about the false prophet. We talked about these different kingdoms that begin with Babylon. We know that because of Daniel 2. and begin with Babylon. Babylon fell to Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia fell to Greece. Greece fell to pagan Rome. Pagan Rome fell to papal Rome. Papal Rome is the Antichrist. That is what started this kingdom of counterfeit Christianity. Papal Rome fell to communism through Napoleon. Communism fell to the United States. And I want to talk about that for a minute. This is the false prophet in Revelation 17. Verse 10, we're told that 5 of those kingdoms have fallen from the perspective of John, who's in the 6th kingdom in the vision. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come, but when he does come, he must remain for only a little while. And the kingdom that is being spoken of here is the United States. So the United States has been a global superpower, not for long. I'm telling you right now, the Antichrist is going to rise next year, and the Antichrist is not going to compete with this false prophet. Consistent with the character of Satan, this character that the world likes to call narcissist, which is the character of Satan, he uses people as long as he needs them, and then he discards. He's not going to compete with the false prophet. So he will use the false prophet as long as he needs him in order to testify to this false kingdom, this kingdom of false Christianity. But then he's going to move along. And the purpose of these different kingdoms, of the 10 kings, the purpose of the false prophet, what they're doing is handing over their authority to this Antichrist so that the Antichrist reigns. And the image of the Antichrist, we're told in Revelation 13, was created by the United States. That image was created. It is a Frankenstein of the United States. And the United States has been testifying to it, has fed this monster. And right now at this point in history, you're seeing it turn on the United States. In the last couple days, there was a video that was put out of Netanyahu essentially saying, calling out the United States and saying that we're not sending weapons to them. I don't know why we would even be required to send weapons to them, being that they're not part of NATO. But what Netanyahu is doing is he's appealing to counterfeit Christianity by accusing the United States of not doing its so-called Christian duty. And counterfeit Christianity is going to turn on this as well. Because counterfeit Christianity also thinks that they have a Christian duty to support this counterfeit Israel. Because of their stupid narrative that some ethnic nation or some land or or people who are living in that land, that they're going to essentially bear the judgment of the Antichrist. Here's the irony. They are the image of the Antichrist who are actually going to persecute and kill God's people. So all this time, counterfeit Christianity has this narrative that they're the victim, that counterfeit Israel is the victim, that we need to just blindly give them support, and they just take it, the image of the Antichrist, they take it and run with it. They're killing people, claiming to be doing it in God's name. Now, Netanyahu's putting out these videos blaming the United States for not sending weapons. Frankly, who even knows what the truth is? But I'm going to tell you, I am inclined to actually believe that he's lying. I think that he is outright lying. Not that he's entitled to it to begin with. I think he's lying. So you are starting to actually see people turn on the United States, and you're going to continue to see that. And next year, when the Antichrist rises, there will have been, between now and then, a progression of the United States being brought down. God is making a mockery, an outright mockery of the United States. I mean, what's going on in this nation right now is frankly embarrassing. Our, people who are like my parents' age, they've been seeing it for a while. And now I'm seeing, my goodness, this is rapid deterioration. We got one president who can't walk on his own 2 feet. Sounds like he's got mush in his mouth half the time. Says things like, hey man. He just sounds unrefined. Like he doesn't sound like he's taking this seriously. This is not we are not supposed to be having a lackadaisical approach to running a nation. And then you got the other option who thinks he's the Messiah, the American Messiah, and God just made him a convicted felon. So that's hilarious. It's a joke, guys. All of this should be opening your eyes, and you should be concerned. The United States has to fall. They have to fall in order for the Antichrist to rise. Listen to the pattern of God. Babylon fell to Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia fell to Greece. Greece fell to pagan Rome. Pagan Rome fell to papal Rome. Papal Rome fell to communism. Communism fell to the United States. The United States has to fall in order for the Antichrist to rise. There's not going to be two global, superpowers. But I want you to look at who's taking it down. Counterfeit Christianity. They are going to turn on the U.S. How do I know that? Because counterfeit Christianity is the Antichrist. And so if they're going to succeed the United States, they're going to turn on the United States. You hear what I'm saying? That video of Netanyahu is important because he is appealing to counterfeit Christianity right now. Who do you think he's telling it? Who do you think he's doing that video for? He is telling on the United States to who? Who are his supporters? Counterfeit Christianity. Those are his supporters. So he's accusing the U.S. of not doing its Christian duty. I also want to point out that the Antichrist in Revelation 13 and 17 is wearing 10 horns. And we're told in Revelation 17 that 10 horns are 10 kings. And these 10 kings have 10 crowns. And those crowns represent authority. The Antichrist in Revelation 6 is seen with one crown. Jesus, later on in Revelation, I never remember the chapter. I think it's like 19 through 21 or something like that, somewhere around there, where Jesus is wearing several crowns. Jesus has all authority. The Antichrist is given authority until it goes to perdition. So all the crowns represent is authority. And these 10 kings, we learn in Daniel 7, have come out of Rome. These are the 10 Germanic tribes that trampled Rome, that became Western Europe. And in Revelation 17, it says that they are of one mind, and they have been given, because God has made it so, and that they have one purpose, and that is to give their power and authority to the Antichrist. And ultimately, that's also what the false prophet is doing. You got to understand that in order for the Antichrist to rise, that false prophet has to come down. It will no longer be the power. Babylon was no longer the power when Medo-Persia took over. Medo-Persia was no longer the power when Greece took over. You get the picture? They're not going to reign together. So this empire that we think is, bulletproof, it's not. It is not bulletproof. It was formed for a specific purpose. And that specific purpose was to set up, to testify to the Antichrist, and to create the image, the Frankenstein of Israel, of counterfeit Israel. So what Netanyahu is doing is telling on the United States. Is this a divided kingdom? Is this ironic or what? The United States has always been described as being the best friend of Israel, so long as you behave. But now that Frankenstein is established in the hearts and minds of counterfeit Christianity, there's no loyalty. All bets are off. United States loved it when they had the power, but they don't have the power anymore. That power is shifting. And there is a judgment that I've been telling you that God has been talking with me about, and this is very much related to whatever that is going to look like. I'm not going to go beyond what he said to me, but I will say this. It's coming, and there's a reason he has had me summarizing what he has revealed to me in the last couple years. He's had me doing that lately for a reason, because he's giving a sort of final warning. I mean, that's how I see it, is that he's letting you know, okay, here's what I've been speaking through my prophets, through his actual prophets, those who are nothing in the world, okay? Not those exalted by the world. Here's what I've been warning. Are you going to listen or not? And I'm going to tell you right now, just as I told you in the last 2 videos, most of you won't listen. Most of you will not return. Most of you are sitting on your laurels waiting to see, when do I have to actually do something? And you're going to miss the bus. Let's talk about the mark of the beast. That's a good segue. The mark of the beast is in your heart, guys. It's in your heart because that's where you're going to be justified. That's what you've been told in the word. And Jesus said that what's in your heart comes out of your mouth. He very clearly demonstrated that nothing that goes into your body is what defiles you, because what goes into your mouth goes into your stomach and it comes out. It's what's coming out of your mouth because that's coming from your heart. We also know that what comes out of our heart comes through our deeds and our thoughts and our beliefs and the things we profess. And the mark of the beast, as with the seal of God, is a marking, a branding of sorts that tells us to whom you belong. Who is your master? Whose child are you? And that is coming out of your right hand, representing your deeds, your behaviors, and what you profess. And your forehead, what you think, and what you believe. That's the mark of the beast. Okay, let's look at how it looks practically speaking. You have a group of Christian Zionists who do not know the Word of God, nor do they care about the Word of God when it's pointed out to them, who blindly support some ethnic nation, a race, a land, and claim that that is Israel. And even though the word says that Israel are God's people, not all who are descended from Israel are Israel, not all who are descended from Abraham are Abraham's children. A Jew is one who is one inwardly through circumcision of the heart, not outwardly. Even though that's what the word says, these counterfeit Christians, what is in their heart and coming out of their beliefs and their thoughts and what they profess and what they support and what they give their money to, they support murder and theft. That's what's coming from their heart. You think the mark of the beast is going to suddenly show up? These people are worshiping the image already. They are well on their way to receiving and establishing and solidifying the mark of the beast in their heart. And there is no opportunity for them to go backward. Once that's been established, their fate is sealed, and they will be thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. By the time the abomination of desolation is set up in the temple, in their hearts, they will have made their decision. That abomination of desolation, by the way, in Ezekiel 8, is the cross to Tammuz. You're told at the beginning of the chapter that you're going to see the abomination that incites God's jealous wrath. And by the end of the chapter, the women are grieving. They're mourning the god Tammuz, and the men are bowing down to the sun in the east. Tammuz is a fertility god, also a sun god. And his image is the cross, the very cross that people in counterfeit Christianity claim is the global symbol of Christianity. So that's what you need to understand, that the abomination of desolation is the establishment of counterfeit Christianity. Like, it's been established and it's fulfilled. People have made their choice about who they belong to. That's what's going on. They have bowed down to that image. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of why you wouldn't be able to buy or sell. But Palestinians aren't able to buy or sell right now. Are they able to import and export right now? No, they're not. They're being starved to death. So you should take a lesson from that and see the way that Israelis or the IDF, they plunder the loot that's coming in. They've kept supplies of food, etc., from coming in to help Palestinians. So that could be one way, but I'm just putting that out there as an example of what we see happening today. I am not saying that that is what is going to happen, because that is not something that I know to be certain, and God has not revealed that to me. So the mark of the beast is straightforward. God has already said that if you're in the covenant, you're observing his Sabbaths, you're doing, the things that he has commanded, this is going to be a sign on your right hand and your forehead. And then on the other side, he has said that nothing that goes into your body is going to defile you, but what comes out of your heart is what defiles you. He has said that you're going to be justified by your heart or condemned by your heart. It's not some big mystery, but what I will tell you right now is the false narrative that this is a chip or a tattoo or something that's going to go into your body, I can tell you with certainty that is not the mark of the beast, because Jesus already said it's not, and because the Bible tells us that we'll be justified by our heart. And otherwise, the Bible would say you'll be justified by whatever we can see on your hand or your forehead. Now, let me tell you something else about your hand and your forehead, because the book of Isaiah talks about taking the Lord's name on your hand. If you are a counterfeit Christian who goes around talking about being Lutheran, a Calvinist, a Wesleyan, you follow Knox, you follow Apollos or Cephas, I don't care what man's name you're saying that you follow, the Pope, this pastor, that pastor, I want you to know that that is the name on your forehead, and that Revelation 13 tells us that the dragon, who is Satan, hides behind those things. So if you have any other name on your forehead but the name of Christ and the purity of his word in your heart and the purity of his gospel, you have believed in vain, you have taken a different name, and you are worshiping the dragon. You need to hear it just like that, because that is the truth, and this is a matter of life and death. Now please go discern what I've said with God.